Hello guys, this is your friend Dark Verse and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Banished Naruto built at the Sakushi Harem with Yugito and Samui, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Yup, he was in the one place he hated more than anything. A hospital. Slowly he worked his way to a sitting position as he rubbed his sore neck. Naruto froze when a spike of pain shot through his body, nearly causing him to double over and scream. He slowly looked down to see his chest was heavily wrapped along with his arms, legs and head. He laid back, breathing slowly in hopes that he wouldn't reopen his wound. He remembered his fight with Sasuke and very narrowly beating him. Well, that was wrong actually. He didn't beat him, they tied. Neither had enough strength to move after their fight, but if Sasuke was strong enough to walk he would have escaped. Naruto let out a contented sigh, knowing in the end Sasuke was back in the village. That was when the door opened and a man clad in black robes stepped in. He had short black hair and red eyes. They weren't the Sharingan, so Naruto wasn't worried, but he still didn't have a clue who this man was. "Ah, so you are awake today," the man said as he approached Naruto. "Who are you and what do you want?" Naruto asked with a groan of pain. "It hurts to talk." "My name is Genri Kenryu and I'm a messenger for the Konoha Council," he said with his stern voice. "So what? Does the council want to see me about the mission?" Naruto asked as he barely managed to sit up. "Quite the opposite actually," Genri said as he took a small black scroll out of his robes. It was at that moment that the door opened once again and Tsunade entered. "What the hell are you doing here? Naruto is in no condition to see anyone." Tsunade roared in anger. "I was simply doing my job. I now take my leave," the man said as he vanished via a shunshin. "Naruto, what's that scroll?" Tsunade asked, seeing Naruto face pale and the scroll dropped. His eyes slowly moved to the Hokage. "What did I do wrong?" Naruto asked. "What do you mean? You've done nothing wrong," Tsunade replied. "Then why?" Naruto couldn't finish as his voice died. "Naruto, what was on that scroll?" Tsunade asked. Naruto sighed and rolled the scroll back up before he laid down, covering his eyes with his arm to hide the tears that were building up. Tsunade, now very worried, moved forward towards the boy she saw as a grandson. "The council?" Naruto choked. "They've banished me," he finished, causing Tsunade to stop dead. "That's not possible. Banishment of a shinobi would require my signature and I would never sign something like that," Tsunade said as she took the scroll to read it. "One Naruto Uzumaki is hereby banished from Konohagakure no Sato until such a time that the entire council agrees that he may return. No less than 100% of the council's approval will be accepted. Until such a date is reached, Naruto Uzumaki is not to step foot within Konohagakure. The council has allowed him to remain within the land of fire if he wishes, but he may not remain in the village or within 50 miles of the village." Tsunade rolled up the scroll and crushed it in her hands. "Look, Naruto, I'm going to get the bottom of this. You aren't going anywhere if I have any say in it," Tsunade said. "Look at the date on it, Ba-chan," Naruto said. "It's dated 2 days after Hokage Jiji's death. They passed it when we didn't have a Hokage," Naruto added. Tsunade's face paled. They had used the lack of a Hokage to pass this and held onto it until they wanted him gone. "Naruto," Tsunade spoke weakly. "I'm sorry, I guess I can't take that hat from you," Naruto said as he weakly started to get up. "Stay. Let me fight this," Tsunade said, stopping him. "Even if I can't stop your banishment, I won't let them make you leave until you are positively 100% again," Tsunade added with tears in her. Already knew there was no fighting this. "As you wish, Hokage-sama," Naruto replied, and he laid back and tried to figure out what he did wrong. A few days had passed and Tsunade had summoned the remaining member of the Konoha 12 feet into her office. Sasuke and Naruto were still too weak to leave the hospital, while Choji and Neji had both been released shortly before this and were the last to arrive, being helped by their teammates. All of them were frozen when they saw how solemn Tsunade looked. And what shocked them most of all was the complete lack of sake bottles to be seen, meaning that she was sober. I'll get right down to it. I asked you here to tell you something that will shock you all, but first I want to know something, Tsunade started. What are your thoughts on Naruto Uzumaki? What do you mean by our thoughts? Shikamaru asked. What do you think of him? Is he good? Is he bad? Do you like him? Do you hate him? Tsunade answered. Naruto is strong and I would trust him with my life. I may not know him that well, but I have to say his nindo of never giving up and protect that which is precious to you is inspiring, spoke Neji, which shocked most seeing him speak first. While I agree with Hyuga-san's statement, I must also add that his brash nature leads to trouble, but he seems to be very effective at fixing the trouble it brings, Shino said. Naruto is one of my best friends. And he is also one of the few people who didn't make fun of my weight or my eating habits, Choji gave his piece. The dude's a freaking genius, Kiba said, confusing most. He was the dope in school, and yet he not only beats me, he also beats Neji and Gaara. He shows that anyone can be great if they truly put their mind to it, Kiba explained. Yash. I consider Naruto to be one of my eternal rivals. His flames of youth never seem to dampen, Lee shouted. I don't really have anything I could say here. I hardly know him, Tenten said. Sadly, I agree with Tenten, Ino said. I'm with Choji. He's one of my best friends and I would gladly throw my life down for him, knowing he would do the same for me, Shikamaru said. Naruto's been my teammate for several months and I'd have to say I agree with Neji and Shino. Now while he's not one of my best friends, I know he would jump on a paper bomb for me and I would do the same for him, Sakura said. Everyone's attention now turned to the last figure, one Hinata Hyuga, whom remained silent for the entire meeting thus far. I've admired Naruto for a very long time. He showed me that it's okay to fail as long as you don't let that failure stop you from getting stronger. And even when everyone thinks you're weak or useless, you can prove them wrong as long as you give it your all, Hinata said with a heavy blush. I see, Tsunade said, covered her eyes for a moment, hold back tears. Then it makes this ever harder to do, Tsunade added. What's wrong, Hokage-sama? Sakura asked. The council had a vote while Naruto and Jiraiya were searching for me. The vote passed, and instead of acting on it the moment Naruto returned, they chose to wait until they deemed him to be his weakest, Tsunade explained. What was the vote about? Lee asked. As of yesterday, Tsunade pulled out a leaf Hittite and placed it on the desk. Naruto has been removed from active service in Konohagakure, and once he's fully healed he will be. Tsunade stopped, unable to hold back a weak sob. What did they do? Shikamaru asked with wide eyes. They've banished him, Tsunade said as a sob broke out. She didn't care if they saw it, she couldn't hold back her tears. She loved Naruto like a son and now he was being forced out of her life. Everyone reacted differently. Sakura completely froze. She was in such a state of shock she couldn't even cry. Shikamaru clenched his fists, trying to contain his hatred for the council. Choji crushed the bag of chips he was holding and stormed out of the office. Ino remained quiet, she couldn't think of what to say. Neji surprisingly clenched his fists, clearly pissed off at the moment. Lee dropped to his knees, unable to speak. His dreams of fighting Naruto were just crushed. Tenten, like Ino, simply remained quiet, trying to process that she wouldn't see the hyper kid anymore. Shino thought he showed no emotion, was just as furious as Shikamaru and Choji. Kiba was one of the few to vocalize his rage as he screamed in rage and left the room, shouting something about talking to his mother. Hinata broke down and ran from the room with tears in her eyes. Naruto stood in his apartment staring at his bed. He didn't know where he would go or what he would do now. He was fully healed and had 2 days to leave the village before Anbu would be forced to arrest him. Maybe I'll go to one of the other hidden villages, Naruto thought. As he packed away his last shirt and closed his bag, He picked up his Gamma wallet and moved towards his door. Stopping once more before he left, he decided to look into his apartment one last time before he opened his front door and came face to face with a pale-eyed girl. "Hinata?" Naruto asked. He was shocked when the girl suddenly hugged him and started crying. "Naruto." Hinata cried as she clung to him. "I don't want you to leave," she said over and over. "Hinata, I really wish I could stay but I can't," Naruto said slowly. That was when everything made sense to him. He pulled Hinata back and looked her, locking his eyes with hers. "Naruto-kun." Hinata looked at him. "Hinata, do you have a crush on me?" Naruto asked. Hinata blushed heavily but managed to nod and not faint. "What would you do if someone had a crush on you, and you didn't know it?" Naruto asked. "I don't know," Hinata replied. "Would you give them a chance, since we can't be?" Naruto asked. "It would depend on who it is," Hinata said, unable to believe that not only was she holding her cool and not fainting but she was also having a conversation with Naruto. "Hinata, I know someone who feels the same for you as you do for me," Naruto said. "Really?" Hinata asked, shocked that someone could care about her that much. "It's Kiba. He's head of heels for you, Hinata," Naruto said. Kiba-kun," Hinata said, even more shocked now. "Yeah, why do you think he hated my guts so much? I never noticed until now, but he was trying to get your attention like you're trying to get mine," Naruto explained. "Kiba-kun," Hinata blushed as she looked down and thought over Naruto's words. Hinata looked up, her eyes locking with Naruto's once more. I have to go, Hinata. I hope one day I can come back, but I'm not going to have my hopes up," Naruto said as he stepped past Hinata and was gone before another word could be said. Sasuke's eyes opened as he looked around to see he was in Konoha. "Why am I here?" Sasuke thought as he looked to see Kakashi standing a few feet away. "You're awake," Kakashi said. "What happened?" Sasuke asked. "What's the last thing you remember?" Kakashi asked. "I remember fighting Naruto." "Wait, why was I fighting Naruto?" Sasuke asked. "So it really was the curse seal?" Kakashi thought as he rubbed his chin. "What?" Sasuke asked. "Think hard. Why did you leave the village? Why did you want to go to Orochimaru? Why did you attack Naruto?" Kakashi asked. "I remember having this strange thirst for power. I truly believed that if I went to Orochimaru I would be able to kill Itachi. Why did I think that?" Sasuke's brain felt like it was on fire. "So I was right?" Another voice asked. Sasuke looked up to see Jiraiya and Tsunade standing in the doorway. "Right about what?" Sasuke asked. "Orochimaru's curse seal eats away at the affected person's mind, slowly turning them into mindless servants to him. It washes away all your friendships, all your happy memories, all of your dreams, excluding ones of revenge or vengeance. Those turn worse, making the affected person believe that Orochimaru can give them what they want," Jiraiya explained. "How can one little seal do so much?" Sasuke asked. "Orochimaru has poured years of work into that seal, and I've put years into a counterseal. One that blocks the seal from eating away at your mind. It's all we can do until I can learn how to rip it off you," Jiraiya explained. "Now Sasuke, what can you tell me about your fight with Naruto?" Tsunade said, finally taking center stage. "We fought at the Valley of the End. He drew on this red chakra and oh Kami, he's not dead, is he?" Sasuke asked. "No, Naruto's alive," Tsunade replied. "Thank Kami. He's just about the only friend I have in this village," Sasuke said. "Had," Jiraiya corrected. "What?" Sasuke asked. "The council banished Naruto," Tsunade said. "What? Why?" Sasuke screamed. "I wish I knew, but they did it while I was searching for Tsunade and decided to hold onto it until they wanted him gone. I guess nearly getting himself, you, Choji, Kiba, Lee, Shikamaru and Neji killed was good enough reason to enact it," Jiraiya said. "So Naruto is gone?" Sasuke asked. "Not yet, but soon," Tsunade replied. "I've got to see him. I need to apologize to him for going crazy." "That wasn't me," Sasuke said. Ma Sasuke, calm down, Kakashi said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Do you think Naruto would really be able to handle you groveling to him right now? He asked. I guess not. Can I at least say goodbye? Sasuke asked. Sure you can, Tsunade said with a soft smile, hoping this wasn't so ploy. Naruto stood just outside of the gates of Konoha, his vision on the horizon. Time to find a new home, I guess, Naruto said as he took his first step. He had gone by and said goodbye to every worth saying goodbye to. The entire Konoha 11, since he wasn't a member anymore, the Ichirakus, Tsunade, Shizune, Kakashi, Konohamaru and his gang. The only person he couldn't find was Jiraiya. Stupid Arrow-sensei, I can't find him when I need him, Naruto thought as he walked through the forest trying to think of where he would go. Naruto, a voice stopped the boy dead. He turned to see a very serious Jiraiya standing by a tree. Arrow-sensei, Naruto said, seeing his Chunin exam sensei. This is going to be a lot of information at once, but I'm going to tell you something that will shock you, Jiraiya said as he moved towards Naruto. What could possibly shock me more than, hey, thanks for saving Sasuke, now screw you and get out of our village, Naruto said. Try your lineage, Jiraiya said, causing Naruto to go silent. My parents? Naruto asked. Yes, now let's talk, Jiraiya said as he sat down leaning against the tree. Naruto quickly sat down near Jiraiya. First off, your mother. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. She was nicknamed the Red Hot Habanero. She had fiery red hair and stunning violet eyes. She was a Jonin of the Leaf and the pervious Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox, Jiraiya explained. Kushina, such pretty name, Naruto said with a happy smile. Now your father, Jiraiya said, gaining Naruto's attention, was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. What? Naruto screamed, unable to believe him. Settle down and I'll explain, Jiraiya said, getting Naruto to sit down. Why else do you think you're the Jinchuriki? He would have used some else's child when he had one of his own. Now then, Jiraiya pulled out a few scrolls. The red scroll is from your mother. It has a letter from her, her sword, her life savings, her favorite jutsus, and a few other things. The yellow scroll is your father's. Like Kushina's, it has his life savings, favorite jutsus, and his tri-pronged kunai. Jiraiya handed Naruto the two scrolls. Why are you giving me these? Naruto asked. Well, you were supposed to get these once you turned 16, but since you were banished, I decided that you deserved these now, Jiraiya replied. Thank you, Jiraiya, Naruto said as he put the scrolls into his bag. One more thing, this is a little gift from me, Jiraiya said, handing Naruto a green scroll. What is it? Naruto asked. Well, you see, your parents' life-saving weren't very much since they had just bought a house and full furnished it just before their deaths. They maybe had 3,000 between them, Jiraiya explained. You're losing me here, Naruto said. That is just over 500,000 ryo, Jiraiya said. Naruto said nothing and simply let his mouth go slack as he heard how much it was. Why? Naruto asked. Call it 14 years of payback for lack of presents and whatnot. After all, I was supposed to be your godfather, Jiraiya replied. I can't. That's just way too much, Naruto said. Nonsense. Use it to build a life wherever you want, Jiraiya said as he stood and cracked his back. Oh, and two little gifts. One, the toads are still with you, and they are royally pissed off with Konoha for this, by the way. The other thing is your shadow clones, Jiraiya started. Wait, why are the toads mad? Naruto asked. They don't like that you got banished for no good reason and have decided that they are no longer affiliated with Konoha. Other than me, no Konoha shinobi will ever be allowed to summon toads again, excluding someone that is naturally affiliated with them, Jiraiya explained. They did that for me? Naruto asked. Naruto, Gamabunta may be grumpy, but he doesn't help someone unless he holds them in the highest respects. The fact that you had Gamakichi backing you had nothing to do with it. He would have fought with you against Gaara either way. He's just lazy, Jiraiya said. And what about my shadow clones now? Naruto asked. Yes, as I was saying. Everything a shadow clone learns you will remember. An example is if you used shadow clones to help you learn the Rasengan. Every attempt they would have made you would have remembered and would have been able to add to your learning curve, Jiraiya explained. Why didn't you tell me that when I was trying to learn the Rasengan? Naruto asked. I wanted you to learn it the hard way. That way you'd have proper respect for an A-rank ninjutsu, Jiraiya replied, getting Naruto to nod. Okay, I understand. Naruto gave a sigh. Is there anything else? I really should be heading out, Naruto added. Nothing other than try to stay away from Iwa. I'm not sure if they would kill you or not. They might hate you just because of who your father is, Jiraiya said. I understand. Maybe I'll see you around, Jiraiya, Naruto said as the two shook hands and parted ways. Jiraiya started back towards the village while Naruto started his aimless wandering. Tsunade sat behind her desk ignoring her paperwork as she started in an untouched bottle of sake. She hadn't had a drop since she read Naruto's banishment scroll. She grabbed the bottle then threw it with all her might at the wall, shattering it. I swear, Naruto, I will find a way to bring you home, Tsunade said as she clenched her fists so tightly that her hands started to bleed. Naruto stood in a small shop looking over a new set of clothes. He was seriously considering tossing out his old orange jumpsuit. Sure, he loved the color, but now it didn't seem like it fit him anymore. He needed a new look for his new life. Find anything you like? The shopkeeper asked. I was kind of looking at this hakama, but that seems a little dumb since I'm heading pretty far north, Naruto said. Nonsense. It may not seem it at first glance, but a hakama is made thicker than normal cloths so it can take harsher climates, the shopkeeper replied. How much for it? Naruto asked, expecting a large number. I could do 150 ryos since it doesn't seem to sell well, the shopkeeper said. I'll take it. Naruto shouted. He'd never heard of such a cheap set of clothes before. Now clad in a midnight black hakama, shin-high combat boots, a bright orange sash, a dark crimson kosode with hood and a mask attached and a pair of heavy gloves, Naruto was ready to go to Kumogakure. He wasn't sure what it was, but he felt like something was pulling him there. He left the small village following his gut feeling rather than a compass. As he started to venture further north, he was forced to pull the hood and mask up to save him from the cold winds. God, how long does it take to get to Kumogakure? I've been walking for over a week and a half, Naruto complained out loud as he walked. Sighing heavily, he just continued to walk following his gut feeling. Back in Konohagakure, Sasuke stood in front of the rest of the Konoha 11, as he took a slow breath. Okay, I'm not going to stand here and ask you to forgive me. I don't deserve your forgiveness, not yet. I still need to earn that. All I am going to ask is that you give me that chance. To prove that I am worth forgiving, that you can put your trust in me. I know none of you like me because of what I did, but all I'm asking for is the chance to show that that wasn't me, Sasuke said as he looked at the group. I will give you a chance solely because that's what Naruto would have done, Lee said. Lee is right, it is what Naruto would do, and in his memory I will do the same, Shikamaru added, getting most of the others to nod in agreement. You'd better show your worth at Sasuke, Kiba said with a sneer. I will. Also, I've been given access to my clan's training grounds once more and I would like to open them to your use as well. No matter the time or day, you are all welcome in the Uchiha compound, Sasuke said, giving a light bow. Most of the group was surprised by this new Sasuke. He seemed to have adopted Naruto's view and was doing everything he could to show he was loyal to the Hidden Leaf. In the 2 weeks Naruto had been gone, most of the civilians were partying in praise that the demon boy was gone, while the shinobi felt a void having lost one of the most promising shinobi. Tsunade fought against the council every day trying to get him back. While a small portion of the shinobi council would vote with her, the entire civilian council always voted no. This is getting redundant, Lady Hokage, Danzo said before he took a breath. I would like to set forth a vote, he added. What vote? Tsunade asked with a growl. Simply to limit how many times you can make us vote on the same subject. Such as the Uzumaki's banishment to once a year, Danzo said. I second that, Homaru said quickly. Third, Kaharu added. Before Tsunade could squash the vote, the entire civilian council voted in Danzo's favor along with roughly half of the shinobi council. Very well, it is passed, Tsunade said with venom. Now then, is there anything else to cover or is this meeting adjourned? Tsunade asked. I would like bring up the suggestion of Uchiha Sasuke becoming a chunin, a civilian councilman spoke up. Very well. Neko, bring Uchiha Sasuke here, Tsunade said. Naruto stood in a small village, his face stuck against a window as he looked inside, nearly drooling as he looked at a set of armor. Whoa, that looks so bad, Naruto said as he eyed up the armor once more before entering. Anyone here? Naruto asked as he stepped inside. Yes, my boy, what can I do for you? A rather scarily buff man asked. I was wondering what you have for shinobi armor. Naruto asked. That's all I sell. I specialize in assault armor like the set in the window, the man said as he cracked his neck once while he eyed up Naruto. I saw that it looked badass, Naruto replied. Always nice to see someone take appreciation in my work, the man said. Now what can I do for you? He asked. I was kinda thinking about getting an armor set, Naruto said while he scratched the back of his head. I think I have just the thing for you, the man said as he disappeared into the back of his shop. After several minutes, the man reappeared with a mannequin in a set of armor. 1. This is my masterpiece. The armor is damn near indestructible, is coated with seals on the side that makes it fit its wearer, completely chakra adaptive, and can be sealed by the wearer so it can't be removed, he explained the armor as Naruto looked at it like it was a gift from Kami himself. Can I try it on? Naruto asked. Sure, have at it, the man said. Naruto nodded, then moved to the mannequin. He took his time removing the armor from the mannequin so he could see how it went on. There's a lot to it, Naruto said as he pulled off the chest piece. Yeah, but it'll be worth it, the man said. Naruto finished stripping the armor and put on the black body suit that was to be worn under it. This is kind of heavy, Naruto said as the suit shrunk to fit him. Yeah, it's ironweave. The stuff is strong enough to stop a kunai, he said as Naruto put on the dark gray plated greaves. On the shin guards were 3 curved spikes. Naruto watched as they shrunk to size just as the suit had. Then came what Naruto would have called an armored kilt, followed by the chest armor and shoulder guards. The shoulder guards, like the greaves, had 3 curved spikes on them as well. He then moved to the spiked wrist guards and chain mail gloves. He took a moment to see the gloves had 2 long claws that extended a good 6 inches. Naruto couldn't help but smile as he took a once-over of himself to see how good he looked in the armor. The helm reminded him of the Sandame's battle helm that he had seen only once before. But this had what appeared to be a 3-pronged claw on the forehead that bed over the helm along with a mouth cover. Now this helm here is special. One put on it will darken the inside of the helm, hiding your eyes and face away so nobody could tell what you look like. On top of that, there is a seal over the mouth cover that distorts your voice, and finally once it darkens so your face is hidden, it will make your eyes glow red, just to give it an evil vibe, the man explained. That is so bad, Naruto shouted as he took the helm and put it on. Damn kid, I think this armor set was made for you, the man said as he looked Naruto over. Yeah, now the big question, Naruto looked to the man, the red eyes locked on him. 500,000, the man said. Holy mother. I can't afford that, Naruto said. Well, that was a lie, he could, but he wanted to save that money. I just with you, kid. It's only 50,000. It's awesome armor, but nobody seems to want it, and for the life of me I can't make a second set without getting that one dude back to help me with the seals again, but I'm rambling. You want the armor or not? The man asked. Hell yeah, I want it, Naruto said as he grabbed his bat and pulled out his Gamma wallet that looked like it was about to burst. Dude, you are freaking loaded. The man said as Naruto counted out the amount. It was a gift from my godfather, Naruto said as he handed over the stack of Ryo. 2. Enjoy the armor and tell people you got it here, the man said as Naruto pulled off the helm, gloves and shoulders. Thanks, I gotta study up on some ceilings so I can put these into the armor for storage, Naruto said as he looked at the armor. That's what this is for, the man said as he poked a seal that sat on his right side just above the armored kilt. You seriously thought of everything, Naruto said as he pulsed a little charka and sealed away the helm, gloves and shoulder guards. Once those were sealed away, they put his black hakama and crimson kosode back on, effectively hiding away his armor. I have my moments, the man said. Naruto gave a nod and left, focused more on trying out his new armor. He was just about to leave when a weapon caught his eyes. It was a naginata. How the blade shined is what really caught his eye. It seemed different from the other weapons. What's up with this naginata? Naruto asked. Oh, that was my father's last weapon. The metal is something strange. It's harder than steel but lighter at the same time. I made a promise to my old man that I would only give it to someone that I truly believe deserves it. I'm not allowed to sell it. And he told me I'd know who deserved it when they touched it, the man explained. What did he mean by that? Naruto asked. He said it was made to, it would react to a certain man's chakra, but he died years ago so it was never picked up. So dad said one day someone would be able to awaken the metal, he explained. Awaken? Naruto asked. Yeah, right now that blade is weaker than tin, but once someone with the Uzumaki blood in them touches it, that's when it will take on the stronger than steel property, the man said. Uzumaki? Naruto said as he grabbed the staff, and instantly the blade shined crimson then returned to its basic steel color. You're an Uzumaki, the man shouted. Half on my mom's side, Naruto replied. Leaf Shinobi, Uzumaki, you're Kushina's boy, the man shouted. Should I be worried that you know that? Naruto asked. I'm Jaken Uzushin, I'm from one of the other clans that made up Uzu no Kuni. There was more than one clan from there. Naruto asked. Uzumaki, Ushin, Kajioni, Takioni, Rarana, Kamigate, and Azuki were the clans made up Uzushigakure, Jaken explained. Whoa, there was a lot of us, Naruto said. Uzushin and Uzumaki are basically gone. Most of the other clans went far to the west, completely out of the elemental nations, Jaken explained. Wow, Naruto said. Come here, kid, Jaken said, getting Naruto to walk towards him. Naruto was confused when Jaken gave him back his money. I'm not charging the closet thing I have to kin, Jaken said. I don't know what to say, Naruto replied. Just say you got your badass gear here, Jaken laughed. By the way, take the naginata, her name is Shinikiba or Death's Fang. I promise I will wear this armor and use this weapon with the utmost pride, my brother, Naruto said with a bow. I have a feeling you will, Jaken smiled. It had been just shy of a week since Naruto had bought his armor and returned to his travels. He was deep within the land of lightning but had yet to find the hidden cloud village. Naruto stopped, seeing nothing before him but water and massive rocks. He glanced around, seeing a small hut with a sign on it. Unraikyo, that's not Kumogakure. Naruto shouted angrily and he stopped his feet a few times. And just who are you? A feminine voice asked, causing Naruto to spin around. Who's there? Naruto asked, seeing a blonde-haired woman sitting on top of the hut. We are Kumo Shinobi, Yugito and B, a large man said as he exited the hut. Naruto simply stared at the two. The woman was stunningly beautiful with long blonde hair and just as stunning dark eyes. She was slightly pale and wore a black and purple short-sleeved blouse with black pants. The man honestly scared him a little. He wore a pair of dark pants and a standard Kumogakure Jonin vest with one shoulder strap and a white hitai-8. He also had 7 swords adorning his back and the kanji for iron on his shoulder in blue. I'm Naruto, Naruto said, offering his hand to the two. While B returned his handshake, the woman just stared at him, expecting something more. So why are you looking for our home? Yugito asked. I used to be a Konoha shinobi, but I got banished, so I was looking for a new home. Kiri is in the middle of a civil war. I don't like the idea of Iowa for some reason, and Suna just seemed too dry for my tastes, Naruto explained. So you thought you'd just come and make Kumo your home? Yugito asked. No, I know I'll have to earn my keep, and I'm more than willing to do so, Naruto said. What skills you got? Gotta know if it's worth giving you a shot, B said, starting his rapping. I have shadow clones and the Rasengan, that's about it, Naruto said, ashamed of himself. What rank were you? Yugito asked. Genin. Naruto replied, again ashamed. You were a genin with the Rasengan? B asked, slightly shocked. Yeah, I'm a special circumstance, so I'd probably never become anything more than a genin, Naruto said. What circumstance? Yugito asked. I'd rather not say, Naruto said quickly. No way for show, B suddenly said. What? Both Naruto and Yugito asked. Ain't nothing to fear, you've got the 2 and 8 here, B said, pointing to himself and Yugito, confusing Naruto heavily. 2 and 8. What does that mean? They're like me. Naruto's mind screamed. You guys have Biju sealed in you? Naruto asked. Yes, I have the Nibi, Matabi, Yugito said. And I'm Raka Killer Melody as the Eitza Jinchuriki, B rapped. I have the Kyubi, Naruto said. No foolin', B said. We should take him to the Raikage, Yugito said. Fo sho bro'll know what to do, ah yeah. B laughed. That's didn't even rhyme, Naruto said. Just gotta give it time, B replied. I'll kill you, Yugito growled. Then I'd be blue, B replied. Oh, go eat an orange, Naruto shouted. I'll slap you with a door hinge, B laughed. Let's just go, Yugito said. With the flow, B said as he started to walk, leading them to the hidden cloud. Once they reached the hidden cloud, Naruto instantly noticed that nobody was looking at Yugito or B with spite or hate. Instead, they looked to them with respect and love. Yugito had just about all of the men's eyes while B had the women's. Naruto looked around, seeing a few people waving to him while others looked at him cautiously. I'm guess you aren't used to this? Yugito asked. No, in Konoha I was quite literally spit on, Naruto replied. That's not cool, yo. You should have come here sooner, bro, B said as the three started to ascend a long staircase. So should I be worried about meeting the Raikage? Naruto asked. Nah, he's a big softy, Yugito replied. To you, B replied as they reached the door. Yo, bro, B's here, B said as he kicked in the door. You're paying to fix that door, the massive figure that what the Raikage replied. Naruto froze instantly, seeing the large man in white and yellow cage robes. We have someone who would like to meet you, Yugito said. Why is it you brought a little boy here? The Raikage asked. Yo, his name is Naruto and he's out, little bro, B replied. With a raised eyebrow, the Raikage took a moment to look over Naruto. Boy, step forward, the Raikage commanded. Naruto obeyed and gave a light bow. He seems a little scrawny and short, A said. I didn't have the best life in Konoha, Raikage-sama, Naruto said. Yeah, don't do that, A replied quickly. You've lost me, Naruto said. I hate that Sama crap. Just call me Raikage or A-san, A said. Raikage it is, Naruto said. Now I would assume you have a Biju since Yugito and B are both claiming you as a brother. Yes, I house the nine-tailed fox, Naruto said. That would make you Uzumaki that was banished from Konoha a short while back, A said. Yes, Raikage-san, Naruto said. Well then, what makes you think you can make a home in Kumo? A asked. I don't know, I just felt something pulling me here, Naruto replied. Interesting, explain this pull, A said. Well, when I left Konoha I felt this pull in my gut pointing me towards Kumo. So I followed it and it ended up leading me to B-san and Yugito-san here. So all I can assume is the pull was something to do with being a Jinchuriki, Naruto explained. Well, you'll need to be training in controlling that fox before we do anything, A said. Leave his training to me and Yugi, B said. I told you to never call me Yugi, Yugito growled. Ah, but it rhymes so good, B replied. B, stop. How long do you need? A asked. I say a 1, a 2, a 3 years to leave him with no peers, B rapped. Before you do that, A stood and walked around his desk to tower over the young Uzumaki. Uzumaki Naruto. Do you swear undying loyalty and fealty to Kumogakure? To always place the village's needs before your own? I can't swear something like that, Naruto said. My friends, no matter the nation, come first, as would any family I might have one day, Naruto added. To Naruto's surprise, A burst out into laughter, as did Yugito and B. Oh my boy, that was the perfect answer. I hate having blindly faithful shinobi, A still laughed. Welcome to Kumogakure, kid, A added before he handed Naruto a Kumo headband with a white cloth. I swear I will do everything I can to prove you are not making a mistake, Naruto said. I have no doubt, A replied. For 3 years he worked himself to the bone. Every day he would train both mind and body. Whether it was speed training with Yugito, strength training with Killer B, academic studies with Samui, or Kenjutsu, with Karui and Omoi. He didn't really train with a sword, since his weapon of choice was now Death's Fang, the naginata he was given by Jaken. His training only stopped for a short time with Jiraiya visited and gave him the key to his seal, only after they had one hell of a sparring match. After he gained that, it was thanks to the combined help of Yugito, Killer B, and the surprise appearance of his mother, that he defeated the 9-tailed fox and took the great fox's chakra for his own. Now he stood before the Raikage ready to accept his next mission. The years had been kind to Naruto. He now stood at 6'1", making him only slightly shorter than B. His blonde hair now rested on his shoulders or tied into a short ponytail. His clothing hadn't changed in the years. When outside of a mission, he chose to keep his deep crimson kosode and black hakama. He had taken the time to adorn the Uzumaki crest on the back of the kosode. When he was sent on a mission, he would gear up in his battle armor. Just as Jaken had said, the armor grew with him. The only change that happened to the armor was he had engraved the hidden cloud emblem onto the helm. Naruto's head turned to see several people walking in. The first was Yugito and B, both of them full geared and ready to go. B was wearing his usual attire in a white single-shoulder strap flak jacket, a dark gray pair of pants, and his white scarf. Yugito, like B, was in her usual attire of black pants, and her black and purple blouse. The next was a younger man with blonde hair and overlong shirt with a hood, dark pants, his hands were wrapped in red bandages, and he had black shin guards. He was one of few Kumo shinobi that wore black hitai. Like most Kumo shinobi, he had a long sword on his back with a white sheath and handle. He had become one of Naruto's closet friends. He was Omoi. Then there was a younger red-headed woman with amber eyes and milk chocolate skin. She was dressed in a short-sleeved dress with frilly edge adorned with a flak jacket. Thought it couldn't be seen, she had a pair of fishnet stockings under her dress. And her hair was kept back by her bandana-style hitai. She too had a long sword sitting on her back. She reminded Naruto heavily of Sakura, except she was infinitely more terrifying. She went by the name of Karui. The next was Samui, and she was dressed in her basic attire. Clad in a dark gray tunic with a white corset that helped show off her ample cleavage. A short skirt stopped just before her mid-thigh. Her wrists were wrapped in red, and unlike other Kumo shinobi, she had a tanto sitting over her back. Good, you all made it, A spoke. This better not be a waste of time, Yugito said. Yeah, I need to on my rhymes, B said. Stop that, A said quickly. Stopping B before he could get his rapping started. So what's this mission, Raikage-sama? Omoi asked. I'm sending you to Kurigakure. Their Mizukage needs to be brought down, A explained. He's a Jinchuriki, Naruto said, getting a nod from A. Of the 3-tailed turtle, A replied. He saw Naruto, Yugito and B all tense up slightly. He knew that none of them really wanted to kill a fellow Jinchuriki. I have a request, Raikage-san, Naruto said with a bow. No, I replied quickly. You didn't even hear my request, Naruto said with a slight grin. You want me to let you follow that gut feeling you have, I said with a blank look. Maybe a little, Naruto replied with a foxy grin. Yo bro, let him go, B said. I'll think about it after the mission, A said. As you say, Naruto said, looking to the others in the room. He figured either B or Yugito would be in charge since they were Jonin and Jinchurikis. Now then Naruto, you're in charge, A said. In charge of what? Naruto asked. The mission, I replied. Which mission? Naruto asked. His mind was simply not connecting the dots. This mission, I shouted before he took a long breath. Naruto, I'm putting in charge of this mission to see if you are ready to become a Jonin. The rest of the group will follow your orders and report back to be on your leadership, A explained. Oh, bad, Naruto said. Now take the reins and command your team, I said. With a nod, Naruto turned to face the other 5 shinobi in the room. Right. You guys have a half hour to get your supplies together and meet me at the south gate. I want to be in the land of water by tonight, Naruto said. Yes sir, Karui grumbled. She didn't like that he was getting a chance to be a Jonin before her. This could be bad. If we rush ourselves, we'll get there and be tired, then we won't fight good enough and we'll die, Omoi said. Omoi, shut up, Naruto said, shaking his head. Half hour ago, Naruto said as he made the ram seal and vanished in a swirl of what seemed to be a red mist. B, Yugito, stay for a moment, I said. Yo, what a need, bro? B asked. How'd his training go? I asked. He hasn't mastered it, but we've gotten it down, Yugito answered. I guess that will do. Make sure he doesn't this up too much, I said. With a nod from both of them, the two were gone. It had been 3 years and he was the last one to become a Chunin. Some said he did it to spite the council. Others said it was to prove that he wasn't power hungry. But if someone asked him, he would tell them he simply didn't pass the tests. Hey Sasuke, you ready to go? Said raven-haired shinobi, turned to see Sakura and Kakashi walking up. Yes I am, but why are we stepping out of the way to help Kiri? Sasuke asked as he hoisted his pack over his shoulder. They've asked for help, would you see them die? Kakashi counter-asked. Even when they argued, his nose never came out of that damned book. No, Sasuke said slowly. Good, everyone's waiting, Sakura said with a grin. Let's just go, Sasuke said. Team 7 reached Eastern Gates to see the rest of the Konoha 11, their old Jonin senseis, and many more shinobi. He could see Shino trying to ignore Hinata and Kiba. They were at each other's throats again. Which surprised quite a few with how passive Hinata had once been. Whatever happened between her and Kiba had really opened her up. Ino, Shikamaru and Choji were all simply waiting. Another surprise, Ino wasn't talking everyone's ear off about some useless subject. Then there is Team Guy. Neji, ever the stoic shinobi, Lee and Guy both shouted about the flames of youth. Sasuke had to admit he felt bad for Tenten. Not a bad force, Sasuke said as the group ready to move. Alright Konoha, we move to free Kiri from the clutches of their tyrannical Mizukage. We will be meeting up with forces from Suna. Along the way from there we will meet up with the rebel leader Mei Terumi, Kakashi stated, getting the forces to move out. It took a week for all of the forces to settle in at the main base for the Kurigakure rebel forces. Suna had sent 20 shinobi along with the Sand siblings. Most of the rebel forces were in shock that the Kazekage himself would come to aid them. Iwa sent no troops, claiming they were too far away. Konoha sent 50 troops including the Konoha 11, their former Jonin sensei, and key shinobi like Anko, Genma, the original Ino Shika Cho trio and Shizune, to head up the Midnan. Finally Kumo sent only 6 shinobi, but they claimed they were far more than necessary. To their knowledge it was their 2 Jinchuriki, Killer B and Yugito ni, Killer B's team in Karui, Omoi, and Samui, and finally their newest shinobi, the man clad in armor that never showed his face. But he had earned the title, the Crimson Shinobi, after he single-handedly slaughtered a group of 15, Chunin level, Nuke Nin. Currently Kakashi, leader of Konoha's forces, the Kazekage Gaara, Mei Terumi, the woman that the rebel forces wanted to make the next Mizukage, and the aforementioned Kumo shinobi stood at a table with their most trusted advisors. In Kakashi's case it had many more than the others, with him was their Konoha 11, Kurenai, Guy and Asuma. Gaara only had his siblings with him, Kankuro to his left and Tamari to his right. Kankuro had a crow draped over his shoulder ready and waiting for the untrusting Kumo shinobi to make a move. Tamari was just at ready, her hand never left her hip, giving her ample opportunity to grab her fan. This of course was pointless. Gaara was still the Jinchuriki of the Shukaku and easily one of the strongest people in the tent. Then of course there were all 6 of the Kumo shinobi led by the bloodied nightmare that was the hidden guise of Naruto. Through his helm he looked to each of the Konoha and Suna forces, remembering them and seeing how they looked now. His eyes found his former flame first. Sakura had grown her hair back out, while not as long as it once was, it now sat on her shoulder, kept out of her eyes by her Hitai-8. She wore a red shirt with black shorts and a pink apron. To him she had hardly changed, but he could tell she was immensely different from how she used to be. Now she was a force to be reckoned with, and he could tell with how she carried herself. His eyes next found his other ex-teammate. Sasuke stood stoically clad in black pants, a gray shirt, and black sandals. His hair was also longer and had lost some of its duck-like appearance. What annoyed him the most was that his eyes were locked on him. He obviously didn't trust the Kumo shinobi. Naruto's red eye moved to the next person was the woman that had confessed a desire to be with him the day he left. Her eyes were on the map rather than the other shinobi. Hinata now wore a pair of blue pants and an open purple and blue hoodie. Her chest caught Naruto's eyes, it was only covered by a black shirt. So that's my plan, Mei said. Shit, I was not paying attention, Naruto thought as he looked to the field. I wouldn't suggest putting 2 Jinchuriki together, Gaara spoke. I would be better to focus one per gate, he added. Naruto turned and looked at Samui, then nodded to the table. Samui nodded back and took a step forward. I have a plan if you wouldn't mind hearing it, Samui said. By all means, Mei said. See, the northern gate has the most land behind it. So I think it would be best to send Suna in that way. Gaara can use in Biju State and not have to worry about any massive pools of water. While the western gate is actually a dock, so Biju State would be best since it's part octopus, he can swim very quick. Then Eastern Gate has the biggest opening before it, that would mean the fastest shinobi need to go this way. So Yugito's state would be perfect, Samui explained. And what of the Southern Gate? Sasuke asked. That's what he's for. Samui pointed to the ironclad Naruto. With a slight nod, Naruto acknowledged her plan. What forces will go with him? Gaara asked. Well, we'll keep Suna with you, the rebels with B, and Konoha with Yugito. So myself, Karui and Omoi will join him at the South Gate, Samui replied. Is everyone okay with this plan? Mei asked, liking her plan more. There were no objections, so Mei gave a nod and dismissed everyone so they could get ready. What's up with that guy? Kiba asked, looking to the armor-clad Kumo nin. What are you talking about? Shikamaru asked. He's nothing like the others, he hasn't said a word since they arrived, Kiba said. And this is a problem? Ino asked. It's just weird, usually people say 1 or 2 words, Kiba said. Maybe he's a mute. You're reading too much into it, Hinata said, deciding to prove Kiba wrong. She moved towards the Crimson Shinobi. His red eyes instantly locked onto her when she moved towards him. A Hyuga, I'm honored. His voice was far deeper than Hinata was expecting. Hello, my name is Hinata, Hinata smiled. A pleasure, the armored shinobi replied. So do you keep your name hidden for a reason? Hinata asked. I only tell those I trust, Naruto replied he wanted to tell her who he was, but it was too soon. That being said, I don't think your boy toy over there likes you talking to me. Naruto's red eyes moved to the fuming Kiba. He wishes. We tried that and he screwed it up, Hinata replied. But in the end it was for the better. I used to be really shy, the pale-eyed heiress added. Good to know, I like this outgoing girl. Naruto grinned from behind his helm. Hands to yourself, big boy, Hinata smiled. Everybody get ready to move out. A voice echoed out. Until the next time, my dear, the armored Naruto said before he vanished in a swirl of red water to gather with his party. The attack started. The shinobi of the hidden mist were in panic as they saw three massive creatures moving towards their city. From the north they could see a large force of shinobi moving alongside what appeared a raccoon made of sand. To their west 8 massive tentacles burst from the water and crushed part of the docks. The civilians ran screaming about the kraken. Shinobi trembled, unable to believe that they were under such an attack. The eastern gate wasn't any better. They were in complete panic seeing a giant blue cat made of blue flames charging at them. With the other two gate, the civilians screamed and ran for their lives, praying the south gate was safe. Civilians. A thunderous voice echoed from the southern gate. You may leave though the southern gate. Shinobi, lay down your arms and you will be spared, the voice echoed out over the entire village. To no surprise, many of the shinobi chose to fight. The northern gate. Sand ran over the walls as shinobi poured into the gate. Temari, Kankuro and Gaara stood atop the massive sand construct. Temari's fan wiped around, sending sharpened waves of wind at the opposing shinobi. Kankuro's fingers danced around as he controlled his three puppets. Crow had been shattered and flew around with its poisoned blades, cutting all comers. Black Ant crushed and rolled over shinobi after shinobi, while Salamander protected their long-range fighters. Sand burial. Gaara spoke as he trapped droves of Kiri shinobi in his sand. To the surprise of his siblings, he didn't kill them. He left them trapped in the sand. This is Suna. North gate is secure, Temari called into a calm line. The western gate. 8 massive tentacles smashed and crushed, making paths for the rebel forces to burst forth. May lead the charge, spewing waves of lava at the defending forces. Cower in fear, the 8 tails in here. B's voice thundered. May smiled as his thunder voice still did make his raps sound any better. It took them little time to lock down the western side of the village thanks to May. Auden and B's Biju state the enemy forces quickly surrendered. New Kiri has taken the western gate, May spoke over her comm. The eastern gate. A massive cat cloaked in flames smashed through the eastern gate, followed by the Konoha forces. The cat's claws raked across the ground, leaving deep gouges and bodies of shinobi. Several spinning pillars shot past her as members of the Inuzuka clan launched their attack. The sound of chirping echoed out as Kakashi and Sasuke came in with Chidori's charged. Like the spinning pillars, several large balls of flesh rolled past. The Akamichi clan members joined in the assault. Secure the gates. Watch out for civilians, Kakashi called out as the shinobi were pushed back with little difficulties. Konoha forces here. East gate is ours, Sakura said as she and the other med nin entered. The southern gate. 4 figures stood at the gate. One stood in front of the others. The armored shinobi of the hidden cloud. He held his naginata in his hand and looked over his shoulder to his friends. Let's go wild, the deepened voice said as he shot into the village, cutting down any shinboi foolish enough to attack. Samui, Omoi, and Karui followed him in their swords, and Tanto all drawn and ready to strike. Omoi and Karui took to the alleyways checking for hiding forces. Samui followed Naruto through the village, watching his back. Naruto's naginata cut through 3 men with little difficulty thanks to his wind chakra enhancing its sharpness. His armor became stained in their blood, making him the truest form of his title. The crimson shinobi, the gray of his arm dyed red from his enemy's blood. Naruto narrowly leapt back as a massive hand crashed into the ground in front of him. He looked to see a gigantic turtle before him. I should be honored that the Mizukage comes after me rather than one of the others, Naruto grinned under his helm. Mizukage. The Mizukage is defending the south gate, Samui called into her calm. I know what you are, the deep voice of the great turtle replied. Then there's no hiding it, Naruto said. The blood boiled off his armor as it became golden. The mixture of his nine tails cloak mixed with his armor was truly immaculate. I'll crush you, the turtle shouted as he lashed out. Naruto sidestepped the much slower beast and lashed out with his naginata slicing up the turtle's side. The blade cut through flesh and hardened shell like butter. An echoing shout of pain rolled out as the turtle collapsed and the form started to shrink. Naruto grinned as the turtle disappeared and a wounded Mizukage stood in its stead, his side gushing blood. I didn't think the nine would be so much stronger, the young-looking Mizukage spoke. Now you've learned. Naruto took a step forward before a set of golden chains came flying out of the darkness and grabbed the Mizukage. What is this? The Mizukage screamed as Mei and a young red-haired girl walked forward. Terumi, what are you doing? Naruto asked. Mei looked solemnly, her eye filled with pain as the chains started to pull at Yagura, but his body remained. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw what was happening. The golden chains were pulling the three tails out of him. Yagura dropped to his knee as the power was pulled out of him. He could hardly move, much less prevent this from happening. I wish it didn't have to be like this, but Kiri must keep its beast, Mei said as the red-haired girl grabbed the chain and yanked, fully pulling the beast from the Mizukage. You're releasing the beast, Samui shouted. No, he will be sealed, the red-haired girl said as the beast started to move towards here. How? Naruto asked. An Uzumaki sealing technique, Mei said. With the use of her chakra chains, young Karen here has chosen to become the Jinchuriki of the three tails, Mei added. You don't like it? Deal with it. She chose this life. Naruto asked. Yes, I was ready to simply kill him and let the beast reform in the vast waters of the lands of water, Mei said as they watched the weakened beast be sucked into Karen's body. Once the beast was completely absorbed, a chain link seal appeared on Karen's stomach, signifying the beast's successful sealing. Naruto looked to the girl, then gave a sigh. Then she must be trained to control the beast, Naruto said. And what would you know of controlling a beast? Karen asked. Plenty, Naruto said as he removed his helm, showing his face. His blue eyes locked on Karen as he walked forward. You're one too, Karen said. Of the nine, Naruto said. Naruto. Naruto turned to see Hinata, and most of the Konoha 11, the Sand siblings and his fellow Kumo Jinchuriki. Been a while. Naruto looked to the Konoha shinobi. Naruto, is it really you? Hinata asked. Yeah, I'm with Kumo now, Naruto said. Let's finish up here. I think there's a lot we have to talk about now, Mei said as she looked down at the fallen body of the ex-Mizukage. Is he dead? Sakura asked. His beast was pulled out of him. He's dead, Mei replied. Kurigakure is ours. The rebel forces cheered. Naruto could tell one hell of a black lash was bound to happen now that his identity was known. He mentally yelled at himself for taking off his helm. The Konoha 11, the Sand siblings, part of the Kiri rebel forces, and his fellow Kumo shinobi stood before Naruto, whom now wore his crimson kosode and black hakama once more. Gaara was the first to step forward. He seemed to be slightly hurt by Naruto. Why didn't you come to Suna? Gaara asked. I was originally going to, but I felt a pull, that's the best I could call it. A pull, or maybe a need to come to Kumo, Naruto explained. Gaara seemed to accept the answer, then stepped back. Naruto, I was given an order if I happened to see you, Kakashi said, stepping forward. I do not heed the call of the Konoha Council anymore, Naruto said with venom. He still loved his first home, but simply mentioning the council that Banished filled him with rage. The council is demanding you return, Kakashi said. Are they? Naruto asked. He almost wanted to laugh. I don't know who made them change their minds or why, but they want you back, Kakashi said. Sorry. Naruto shook his head. I am sworn to Kumo now, Even if I wasn't, I'm never returning to Konoha. Naruto then turned his eye to Karen, whom stood behind Mei. She said you used an Uzumaki sealing technique. Naruto took a step towards the red-haired girl. Yeah, what of it? Karen asked. Are you one? Naruto asked. Yes. Karen Uzumaki. Karen replied, still not understanding. Then we are kin. Naruto offered a hand to the girl. Excuse me? Karen asked. Naruto Uzumaki, at your service, my kinsman, Naruto said with a bow. Even B and the others were slightly taken back by this act. Okay, yeah, how do I react to that? Karen asked. I'm just messing with you. It's nice to know that there are other Uzumaki out there, Naruto said as he pulled the girl into his arm, hugging her. Okay, this is a little better, but I still don't know what to do, Karen said with a light chuckle. Dude, Naruto, what the hell happened? Kiba asked suddenly. I would assume you mean the whole Crimson Shinobi title. Naruto asked. Yeah, that, Kiba said. He still couldn't believe that Naruto was some kind of butcher now. I was shown the cruelty of this world when I was exiled. So I took upon myself to be rid of my foolish no-killing policy, Naruto said. His attention turned to his fellow Kumo nin. They were waiting for orders as he was still in command. Yugito-chan, you're the fastest of us, so head back to Kumo and tell them mission complete, but me and B will be staying here for a short time. After all, my cousin needs help learning how to control her Biju, Naruto said. With a nod, Yugito turned and took off at a freakish speed. Be you cool with helping out Karen? Naruto asked. No sweat, bro. We'll make her a pro. Ah, yeah. B grinned. Naruto shook his head, then looked to the last three. Samui, Karui, Omoi, you three can head back to Kumo, Naruto said. The three paused for a moment before Omoi turned and walked away. Karui followed after a moment, but Samui stayed. You really think Raikage-sama will be okay with you staying here? Samui asked. Probably not, but I won't abandon kin, Naruto said as he turned to Karen, but after a moment he looked to Gaara. B, you think we could help Gaara out too? Naruto asked. He's got a weak seal, bro, B said, stopping his raps for a moment. He rubbed his jaw before he leaned down and whispered into Naruto's ear. Yeah, he could help a lot, Naruto said as he bit his thumb and slammed his hand down, summoning a frog. Hey Naruto, what's up? A large orange frog asked. I need the pervy sage, Gamakichi, Naruto said. Gamakichi looked to see Gaara. You want to help the crazy bastard that tried to kill you? Gamakichi asked. He's a brother, Naruto said with a stern look. Gotcha, I'll get the perv, Gamakichi said as he vanished. Are we done here? Naruto asked. Dude, I'm pretty sure we all got questions for you, Kiba said. Naruto sighed then smiled. Sure, let's grab some food and catch up. Been a while since I've seen any of you, Naruto said as he led the group out of the tent. Most of the Konoha 11 had talked to Naruto and gotten their closure. Whether it was the near wordless stare downs between himself and Shino or Neji, or the overly emotional and heartfelt conversation between himself and Sakura or Hinata. Currently Naruto stood looking at his one-time best friend Sasuke Uchiha. He was surprised how much Sasuke had changed. He had taken on Naruto's old view and tried his best to see the good in everyone. Well, almost everyone. He still wanted to kill Itachi. How is it in Kumo? Sasuke asked. Good. The villagers were a little hesitant of me at first, but that was actually because I was a foreigner, not a Jinchuriki, Naruto replied. How've you been? I'm surviving. The curse seal burns once in a while, but other than that I've held off the need to use it, Sasuke replied. Pervy Sage said he's almost done with a removal jutsu, so maybe you won't have to much longer, Naruto said. Well, I have to get going. It was good to see you again, Naruto, Sasuke said as he offered his hand to Naruto. With a grin, Naruto grabbed his hand and forced him into a hug. I do miss you guys, remember that, Naruto said before the two separated and Sasuke left to meet up with the rest of the Konoha forces. A few days had passed and Naruto stood before both Karen and Gaara as that sat with their eyes closed and meditated. He thought it was a little early for Karen to be trying this, but B assured him there wasn't really a bad time. B was currently sitting in front of Gaara helping him subdue his beast. It was thanks to Jiraiya coming at Naruto's request that they were able to do this. The aged sage was standing behind them waiting for Gaara to win over so he could strengthen his seal without worry of the beast lashing out. Within Gaara's mindscape, all that could be seen was a massive desert of black sand. Gaara could tell what it was. It was the Shukaku's true sand. Sand as black as the Biju's heart. He could hear a low grumble behind him. He slowly turned to see a hardly changed Shukaku growling at him. Gaara was slightly worried his sand wouldn't be much help here. Gaara took one more breath before he tore the seal away and jumped back. Freedom! Shukaku shouted before he was smashed in the face by Gaara's sand. Sand chains! Gaara spoke as chains rose out of the sand and shackled the great raccoon. Shukaku roared and shattered the chains. You think I'll just let you use my sand on me? Shukaku roared. This was what Gaara was worried about. He didn't really have any jutsus other than his sand. I will take control of you, Gaara spoke as he rose his hands forcing the sand to obey him. Shukaku's roared as he tried to lash out but was subdued by his own black sand. No. This can't be. Shukaku screamed as he felt his strength being sapped away. I won't go quietly. He screamed again as the black sand forced him down and Gaara grabbed onto his tail to being the chakra removal process. Shukaku's eyes widened as he saw several octopod appendages move in aiding Gaara in the removal of his chakra. The great raccoon roared again forcing some of the black sand off him. Gaara's eyes widened when he felt his chakra being stolen instead. He's too strong. Gaara dropped to his knees unable to take the strain. Gaara! A voice screamed out. Gaara looked around unable to find the owner of the voice. But he could tell it was familiar. The Shukaku had just about stolen all his chakra when a colossal hand appeared knocked the raccoon away. Gaara looked to see a woman made of golden sand standing behind him with a smile on her face. I swore that I would always protect you, my son, the woman said as the black sand around Gaara slowly turned gold. Mother! Gaara looked at the woman with wide eyes. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. It was just like Naruto said has happened. He was on the brink of losing and his mother appeared. Gaara had hoped that the same would happen and Kami granted it. My son, my precious son, we don't have much time, Karura said as she stood beside her son. Gaara smiled and stood ready to take control. I won't lose. The Shukaku roared only to be smashed by the golden sand again. Now Gaara take his chakra, Karura said. Gaara heeded the words and started to pull away the raccoon's chakra. This time despite shouting and yelling the Shukaku could do nothing to prevent his chakra from being taken away. Gaara stole away his chakra with one foul swoop. I did it, Gaara said. Karura smiled then looked to Shukaku as it rose weakly before he could act though a massive cage fell onto the Biju. No, I won't be caged again. Shukaku roared as the cage sealed around him and trapped him. Your seal has been greatly strengthened. Now you have his chakra and your peace of mind, Karura said with a smile. I have to go now, but remember that I will always love you. Karura gave one last smile before she faded away turning the entire black sand desert to gold. Outside, Gaara's eyes opened slowly to see Kankuro, Temari, Killer Bee, and Naruto all staring at him. He moved to stand when he noticed something odd. His gourd had changed. It was now black with gold markings. He smiled seeing the gold instantly reminded him of his mother. He decided to check out his sand and commanded it to move. That was when he saw his new sand. It was both gold and black. The two colors danced together as it moved around him. Now that's bad, Naruto said with a smile. Yo, I think the little red's finally down, B said seeing Karen was completely motionless. Yeah, looks like she ready. Naruto approached only to be blown back as Karen's form was overtaken by a bluish-green aura. Her eyes opened to showing her eyes were still hers. Killer B was the first to react. And his action was to drop his jaw in shock. What happened? Naruto asked standing up. She got control, B said, his rap's forgotten. How? Naruto asked. Karen smiled widely as she stood and the aura faded away. Isobu was happy that I just wanted to talk. When I explained that I only wanted his power to protect my new home, he decided to give me a shot and relinquished his chakra to me, Karen explained. That seems unfair, Gaara said, seeing Karen smile brightly. Yeah, that does, Naruto said before he cracked a grin himself. Way to go, Karen. Naruto pulled the red-haired girl into his arms for a hug. Karen returned the hug then pulled back. So what now? Karen asked. Well, now Gaara returns to Suna and B and I go back to Kumo, Naruto said. What about the gut feeling? B asked, still not rapping. Gone. I'm going to guess it was Karen or the Three Tails, Naruto said. You must come to visit sometime, Gaara said with a smile. I will take care of yourself. Naruto shook Gaara's hand before the two Kumo shinobi left for home. Naruto stood before awaiting his punishment for returning later than promised. He figured he'd blown his chance at Jonin and was now SOL. Uzumaki Naruto, spoke sternly. Naruto took a step forward awaiting his cage's command. I am proud of you. You took your mission one step further and helped Kiri's Jinchuriki control her beast. We were asked to help Kiri regain stability. Helping your kinsman gain control of her Biju will be of great help to them. So it is with little argument from the advisory council that I hereby grant you the rank of Jonin of Kumo, said, making Naruto's face light up. Naruto wanted to jump for joy but figured it was a bad time. It's fine, Naruto. You should have seen what Yugito did when she became a Jonin, A said. Ah yeah, she partied non-stop, right until she dropped, B rapped. Naruto shook lightly then lost it. Yeah, I'm a Jonin. Naruto screamed at the top of his lungs. A and B both laughed seeing his display. I'll also let you know you may now take a Genin team if you wish, A said. I think about that one, Naruto laughed. Deep within Konoha. What do you mean he won't come back? An aged man asked. It seems Uzumaki-san is happy in Kumo, a masked man said with a bow. The aged man gripped his cane tightly then looked to the man. Kill him, sensei. His stealth should be sufficient enough to kill him, Danzo commanded. Permission to speak freely, sir? The man asked. Usually Danzo wouldn't allow this, but just this once he would let this slide. Granted, Danzo said. Sai will die if you send him. He has the Nine Tails chakra, armor that seems impenetrable, and a naginata that cut through the Three Tails shell like butter, the man explained. Who would you suggest then? We can't let him walk around, Danzo said. Send the four, he said. You think they can win? Danzo asked. Promise them their freedom if they kill him. If they fail we lose nothing, if they succeed you can wipe their minds, the man said. Well thought, Dao. Send them and promise them their freedom, Danzo said. As you command, the man vanished. Back to Kumo. Naruto sat in a bedroom looking at a folder. It was a Genin team. He wasn't sure if he wanted to take a team. After all, he was only 17, almost 18. Was he ready to do something like this? He still wasn't sure, but he figured he could at least look at some of the teams. Kensai Hikage, Masami Nishoku, and Zane, Naruto read aloud. Kensai Hikage. Silver hair and eyes, constantly pulls pranks on his fellow classmen. Said to be dead last in the school. Masami Nishoku. Blue hair, brown eyes, kunoichi of the year, and has obsessive love for ramen and training. Zane. Black hair, orange eyes, most commonly found reading or sleeping. Geez, these kids are practically made to be led by me, Naruto laughed. Naruto looked up when he heard a knock at the door. That was when he remembered he was supposed to go out to dinner with Yugito, B and the others. He closed the folder and grabbed his kosode and reached the door. Hey, you ready? Samui asked. You're the one that came to get me. I figured Yugito would have been here to kick Mai for spacing out. Naruto laughed as he tucked his kosode in. Samui just rolled her eyes and started to walk away. Let's go, the others are waiting, Samui said. Her face was flushed from seeing Naruto without a shirt and she did not want him to know she was blushing because of him. I'm coming, wait up, Naruto said as he grabbed his keys and locked his door before he followed after her. Naruto stood in a tree, his eyes watching over an academy. He still wasn't sure if he wanted to be a sensei. Sure, it sounded cool, but was he ready? Could he do it? Would it be safe to do so since Akatsuki were still on his? Especially since the 4, 5, and 7 had all been captured. They would be making their move on him, Gaara, Yugito or Karen really soon here. He figured now that Gaara had the Shukaku under his thumb he would be fine. But Karen was still very new when it came to her Biju powers, making her the ideal target. Uzumaki-san, Naruto turned to see Akumo Jonin looking up at him. Hey Jay-san, Naruto replied. Raikage-sama wants to see you, Jay said before he turned and walked away. Naruto made the ram sign, the vanished in a swirl of his red water. Gaara stood on the roof on the Casecage's tower as a strange white bird flew overhead. A figure landed on the roof and spoke. Infiltration complete. The figure stopped when he noticed Gaara standing before him. Found me already, he asked. There are no birds like that in these deserts, Gaara replied as his sand started to flow out of his gourd. The man jumped back and threw a clay spider at the Casecage. Gaara did nothing as his sand protected him from harm. The spider blew up and the sand moved away, showing the blonde man was on the bird once more. Gaara's eyes slowly followed him. Deidara assumed the redhead was waiting for him to make his move. Well, I don't want to keep him waiting, Deidara said as he made 5 clay birds and sent them at the sand wielder. Just like the first time the sand blocked the explosion. I don't remember anyone saying his sand was black and gold. That seems like something they should have told me. Deidara slowed, seeing Gaara still hadn't moved. Not going to attack? Deidara asked. I did, Gaara replied. Deidara's eyes widened when he felt something starting to squeeze him. He looked to see all the black on his cloak was coated in his black sand. Shit! Deidara roared as he ripped off his cloak just in time to survive as the sand crushed in. Deidara let out a sigh of relief. Futon. Kazakiri no Jutsu. Deidara looked to see the wing of his bird was sliced up and a figure appeared on the body. Puppet art. Senbon hell. The figure's mouth opened and Senbons shot out. Quote exclamation mark quote. Deidara growled as he failed to dodge the Senbons and crashed into the Casecage's tower. He looked up only to see black and gold sand encase him. Shit. I can't move. Sabaku Kyo. Deidara struggled with all his might but couldn't break free. Sabaku Soso. Gaara clenched his fists and blood erupted from the sand. Just like that, Akatsuki was down one member. Gaara turned his eyes on the entrance to the village. He could see a figure moving away from the gates at quite a clip. He figured it was the blonde's partner, fleeing now that he or she was alone. Tsunade sat behind her desk with clenched fists. She was both furious and happy. She was pissed that Naruto wouldn't come home, but she understood why and was happy he had found somewhere he was happy. She wanted to have him back, to be able to name him as her successor and to watch him grow up into a fine young man. But it seemed she would never have that. Hokage-sama, a voice asked. Tsunade looked up to see Kakashi stepping in. What is it, Kakashi? Tsunade asked. Here. Kakashi handed her a scroll with the Uzumaki swirl on it. Tsunade didn't hesitate to grab it and open it. She knew it was from Naruto. Hey Ba-chan. I'm happy here in Kumo, so don't beat yourself up. I've mastered my burden and even found something worth fighting for again. I met the 2 and 8 tails containers and they both are cool. Me and Yugito, the 2 tails, get food just about every other day. She's really cool and we have a lot in common. He's the 8 tails, as awesome even if he raps all the time. He kicks and fights like a monster. Great training. Then there's Karui. She's a real firecracker like Sakura. I can't hang out with her too long, it remind me of you guys and that hurts. And I'm forgetting about Omoi. I swear I found the one person weirder than me. His obsession with candy is kinda creepy. Was I that bad with ramen? Oh, sorry, I'm rambling here. Thanks for the letter. I hope I can visit sometime. The number 1 knuckle-headed Kumogakur shinobi Uzumaki Naruto. Tsunade slowly closed the scroll and wiped away a tear. She missed the blonde so much. Thanks, Kakashi. Tsunade smiled. Kakashi gave a bow and left. Naruto stood alone in a field. He was sick of being followed. Come out, Naruto growled. As commanded, 4 figures shot out of the trees and surrounded him. Uzumaki Naruto, the first spoke. You 4 I thought you guys were dead, Naruto said as he looked at the Sound 4. Danzo found us on the brink and brought us back, Kidomaru said. Naruto took a second to look over the 4. They all look almost exactly the same as they did all those years ago. Only now they all wore black pants with black undershirts and white shits with a demonic version of the Konoha leaf. You are aware that I'll kill all 4 of you like nothing, right? Naruto asked. I think not, they said in unison, and they all did the last thing Naruto ever thought would happen. Tayuya's eyes became Sharingans, Kidomaru's eyes became Byakugans, Jirobo's right arm grew and Sakin summoned a wolf. Dojutsus, Akamichi clan jutsus, and a summoning jutsus, this is just wrong, Naruto said as he watched Tayuya and Kidomaru jump back, taking their position at range while Jirobo and Sakin charged in. Naruto rather skillfully dodged the 2 but knew he was at a partial disadvantage. He didn't have his armor on, nor did he have his shinikiba. All he had was his fists, 2 kunai and a small spool of ninja wire. His opponents on the other hand were geared to the teeth. Naruto flipped backwards, activating his chakra cloak as he did. His body and clothes became gold with black accenting it. All he needed now was his weapon, and these 4 wouldn't last 2 seconds, dojutsus or not. Naruto looked to see he was surrounded by 5 now that Ukin and Sakin separated. Kaden. Ruka no Jutsu, Kidomaru spoke, spewing fire at Naruto. Futon. Daitapa. Tayuya's chest swelled, causing Naruto to have a bit of blood draw from his nose before the wind mixed with the fire. Raiden. Kangekiha. Sakin shot forth a wave of lighting. Doden. Doriodango. Jirobo lifted a truly massive rock from the ground and threw it at Naruto. Sweden. Teppadama. Ukin spoke, adding in a burst of water. Collaboration Jutsu. 5-element death jutsu. All 5 spoke at once. Naruto's eyes widened when the 5 jutsu converged on him. Ukin quickly fused back with his brother so they could do the next step. Shishienji. The 4 called out, trapping Naruto within as the jutsu went off. The explosion was so massive that the walls of the barrier jutsu were pushed out and the 4 were nearly knocked back. I don't care who the you are. Nobody could have survived that, Tayuya said. She spoke to see as the dust settled. There sat Naruto, bleeding heavily and panting. It had taken his entire cloak to counter the explosion, but he still wound up getting burned up a bit. Well, that hurt, Naruto said as he slowly stood up. Tayuya's face reddened slightly, seeing Naruto's lack of clothes, as now he was only clad in a charred hakama. How the did you survive that shithead? Tayuya asked, willing her flush to go down. The same way I survive everything. Pure dumb luck, Naruto said as he felt something coming his way. Well, we'll just have to crush you again, Jirobo said as the barrier came down. Naruto looked at the 4. He was not only lacking his armor and weapon, but now he was injured. Just great. I'm hungry, Jirobo said. Come get some, fatty, Naruto smirked. Rage flashed into Jirobo's eyes and he charged forward. Jirobo, you dumbass, Tayuya yelled. Naruto sidestepped his wild grab and hooked him into a headlock. 1 down, Naruto said as he gave a jerk and Jirobo's body went limp. Dropping the orange-haired man, Naruto turned his attention to the other 3. So who? Naruto narrowly dodged an arrow that was aimed at right between his eyes. Close. Kidomaru grinned. Naruto kept his eyes peeled on Kidomaru. That was when he heard a low growl. Spinning around, he saw the wolf that Sakin had summoned. Shit! Naruto shouted as the wolf lunged and sunk its teeth into his shoulder. With a scream of pain, Naruto grabbed the wolf and crushed its neck, forcing it to disperse. Naruto jerked forward and hit the ground as an arrow pierced straight through his good shoulder. Slowly working his way up again, Naruto grabbed the arrow and pulled it out with a loud groan. You can't take another one, Kidomaru laughed as he notched another arrow. Neither can you, Naruto shouted as he spun and threw the arrow with all his might. She, was all Kidomaru was able to say before the arrow stuck into his eye and dropped him. Tayuya pulled out her flute and ready to play. No music thanks, Naruto said as he shot towards Tayuya. No choice, she smiled before Naruto vanished. What? Tayuya looked around. Behind you, Sakin screamed, trying to get her attention. Tayuya turned around and sure enough there was Naruto. Before she could react, he stole away her flute and crushed it. Chakra's back, Naruto smiled as his golden form overtook him once more. He clenched his fist, smashed the former sound Kunoichi in the face, knocking her out. This, Sakin said as he turned and froze. He wanted to run, but now he was doomed. He got to watch as a pair of elongated claws sunk into his heart and removed it from his chest. The other set shot forward and sunk into Uken's head, killing him as well. Yugito-chan. Naruto smiled happily as the woman wiped her nails off. Naruto's smile faded when he saw her face. What in the hell did you think you were doing? Yugito asked. She moved toward him and grabbed his shoulders. You could have gotten killed, Yugito said as she gripped his shoulders. I'm sorry, Yugito-chan, I didn't mean to worry you, Naruto said before he felt her slap him. Don't ever do that again, Yugito said as she pulled him into a hug. I won't, Naruto replied. I didn't know she cared that much, Naruto thought as they heard a groan. She's still alive, Yugito said as Tayuya slowly came to. I left her alive so I can ask her a few things, Naruto said as he walked over to the recovering girl. Tayuya slowly looked up to see Naruto standing just before her. Great. So what will it be? Torture, rape, or a slow agonizing death? Tayuya asked. Naruto's face went red at the mentioning of rape. I would never touch a woman, so. I simply want to ask you some things, Naruto replied. Can't tell ya, Tayuya said. She's probably got a seal stopping her from spilling secrets, Yugito said. As if to confirm what Yugito said, Tayuya lifted up her shirt showing her stomach, which held a seal. Great, and I still suck at Fuinjutsu, Naruto said. The three turned their attentions when they heard a cough. Naruto looked in surprise, seeing it was Kidomaru laying there with an arrow in his eye still. You're still alive? Tayuya asked in shock. I used my Nenkin no Yoroi in my eyes just before the arrow hit. I'll never be able to have a left eye again. The cords were cut in order to preserve my life, Kidomaru said as he ripped the arrow and what was left of his eye out. That's gross, Naruto said. What, not going to end me? Kidomaru asked. I wanted to know why you attacked me in the first place, Naruto said. We wanted our freedom, even if it was for a short while, Kidomaru replied. Freedom from whom? Naruto asked. Can't say, Kidomaru replied. Naruto, look at their seals, maybe you can break them, Yugito said. I guess it won't hurt to look, Naruto said as he walked over to Tayuya and looked at the seal on her stomach. Naruto looked at the seal, rubbing his chin as he looked it over. It was masterfully done and very complex. I don't think I can, but Jiraiya might be able to, Naruto said as he looked to Kidomaru. So what then? Kidomaru asked. Well, answer this. Do you still want me dead? Naruto asked. I just want my freedom, the both answered. Good answer. Naruto laughed. He then bit his thumb and ran through a few hand signs. Summoning jutsu, with a puff of smoke, a medium-sized yellow toad appeared. Hey Gamarito, Naruto smiled. What's up, Naruto? Gamarito asked. Mind sending a message to Jiraiya? When he has a chance, come to Kumo, Naruto said. Got it, Raito said as he vanished in a pillar of light. So you're going to get our seals off, interrogate us then kill us? Kidomaru asked. Nope. If you tell us everything you'll be free. Kumo, Suna, Kiri, Iwa, Konoha. Wherever you want to go you can go, Naruto said before he dropped to his knees still weakened from the fight. Naruto, Yugito said as she held him stand. Follow us, don't try to run or Yugito-chan here will hunt you down, Naruto said. The two former sound nin nodded and followed the two back to Kumo. Back in Konoha, sir, a man knelt before Danzo. They failed, I am aware, Danzo said as he rubbed his chin. I guess I'll just have to kill Naruto myself, he added. Is that so? Danzo turned to the man and his eye widened seeing who it was. There before him was Sasuke Uchiha. I don't think I can allow you to kill Naruto, Sasuke said as his eyes started to spin. You think you can beat me? Danzo asked. Let's see what you've got, old man, Sasuke said. Kumo. For the second time in a few months Jiraiya found himself inspecting a seal. This was made by a very skilled funijitsust. I would assume Danzo, Jiraiya said as he like Naruto rubbed his chin while inspecting the seal. Can you break it? Naruto asked. Yeah, it's strong but sloppy. Danzo must have only been observing rather than doing it himself, Jiraiya replied as he pulled out a brush and ink set. What do you need? Tayuya asked. For you both to strip down your upper halves, yes I mean your bra too. I need full skin constant with this counterseal, Jiraiya said with a surprising amount of seriousness. Naruto rolled his eyes thinking Jiraiya was trying to be a pervert. You grab anything and I'll kick you so hard you'll become woman, Tayuya said. There are two things in this world I don't joke about, Jiraiya said still with his serious face. My research and funijitsu counterseals. Both require my full attention when being done or it can be fatal. Jiraiya then dipped the tip of his brush into the ink and started to write on. Naruto watched in surprise as Jiraiya covered the girl's chest, shoulders, neck, stomach, arms and back with a massively intricate seal. Without a word he moved to Kidomaru and did the same except he only did 2 of his 6 arms. Once the 2 were fully inked up Jiraiya rubbed his hands together and placed a hand on both of their stomachs. Fuinjutsu. Tearing seal, Jiraiya spoke as the ink started to glow red and both of the ex-Oto nin started to scream in pain. The pain was so intense their bodies completely seized up they couldn't even buckle over in pain. Kai. Jiraiya shouted as he pulled his hands back and the ink along with the seals came off their bodies and became a pair of floating ink wells. After a second both wells burst into flames and were no more. There, the seals are gone, Jiraiya replied while panting. Naruto smiled and helped Jiraiya over to a chair so he could rest. Okay, you two can put your shirts back on, Naruto said. The two obeyed and redressed. Are we really free? Kidomaru asked. After you answer my questions, Naruto replied quickly. The two nodded. If this got them their freedom they would gladly sell out Danzo. Okay, what do you want to know? Kidomaru asked. Everything from how you survived and why you came after me, Naruto said. Okay, well I don't know how I survived, I simply woke up in a cell with the others nearby. After a week in that cell a man came to us. He looked like he could barely walk and his face was covered in bandages. He called himself Danzo and said we were not a part of Root, Kidomaru said. He then picked me and Kidomaru out and started to experiment on us saying we were more unique than the others. That was when he put the Sharingan in my head and the Byakugan in Kidomaru's head. He seemed to take a special interest in the fact that we could activate and deactivate them, Tayuya explained. After that he started our training, after he sealed us and told us if we disobeyed he'd activate the seals. And those hurt like, Kidomaru said. I'm finding it hard to believe he just put dojutsus into your heads, Naruto said as he crossed his arms. You think we understand it much better? Tayuya asked. We wake up, get tortured and trained for 3 years, then he sends us at you. Would ever just finish up, Naruto said. Well, after he trained us, we became his special task force. He would send us out of the village to assassinate people he wanted gone. You were one of them, Kidomaru said. I guess that makes sense. I won't go back to Konoha, so he wants me gone so he can seal the fox into someone else and have the Jinchuriki back in Konoha, Naruto said while nodding his head. Not possible, Jiraiya said quickly. Naruto looked to Jiraiya. So far only an Uzumaki can contain the nine-tailed fox, Jiraiya said. Like Mito-sama, Kushina and yourself, Naruto nodded then looked back at the two. Well, the Raikage said I could hold up my end of the bargain so you two are free, Naruto said. Tayuya looked to Kidomaru, whom shrugged then nodded. I kind of wanted to stay here, this place seems peaceful, Tayuya said. That's up to the Raikage, Naruto replied. Can you get us a meeting with him? Kidomaru asked. I suppose, Naruto said rubbing his chin once more. The two weren't sure if Kumo would be better or worse, but it was worth a shot. Do you guys still want to be shinobi? Naruto asked. I'm sick of fighting, I just want to live, Tayuya said solemnly. I'm just sick of being forced to fight, fighting for my home would be different, Kidomaru said. Well, let's go see if Raikage-sama will see you, Naruto said as he led the two out of the room followed by Jiraiya. I see you around, Gaki, Jiraiya said as he took his leave once they were out of the building. Danzo flipped backwards as he narrowly dodged a Chidori from Sasuke. Danzo didn't find Sasuke a threat. But he was also on the defensive since he hadn't been able to free his arm yet. You think you can just kill me? Danzo asked. You are planning on killing someone I consider precious to me. I will kill you for that, Sasuke growled as he charged a second Chidori in his free hand. Double Chidori. Danzo flipped back and pulled his arm out of his sleeve, breaking off several metal wraps showing his arm. An arm with 8 Sharingan eyes. Sasuke's eyes widened when he saw that. You stole the eyes of my family, Sasuke said as he looked at the red eyes. That I did. Some good came from that night, Danzo said as he unwrapped his face showing a 9th Sharingan. I used to have 2 more but I gave a set to an experiment, Danzo said. What experiment? Sasuke asked. Her name is Tayuya. Surprisingly unlike myself or Hatake, she can actually do as you can. She can activate and deactivate her eyes, Danzo said. So you desecrated the tombs of my clan, experimented on shinobi that should have been put to death, plotted to kill a former shinobi of Konoha, and openly admit to it all, Sasuke said with a bit of surprise. Yes, everything I have ever done is for the betterment of this village, Danzo said as he readied to activate his first Sharingan. Good, that means I can say this. Danzo Shimura, by the power given to me by the Hokage, Tsunade Senju, I, Sasuke Uchiha, head of the Konohagakure military police, hereby place you under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder on an allied shinobi, desecration of the Uchiha clan's mausoleum and the dead within, and withholding information from your Hokage, Sasuke said, making Danzo's eyes widen. There is no such thing at the Konoha military police anymore, Danzo spat. There wasn't until last night. By the command of the Hokage I was allowed to reinstate the KMP and hire on shinobi I believed to be worth of the status, Sasuke explained. So now you have 2 choices, submit and be arrested or fight and become a nuke nin of Konoha, Sasuke said. I'll never just submit, Danzo spat, his rage starting to fill him. Everything he had worked for just went down the drain in the span of 2 minutes. His plans for Konoha as its Hokage, all of his work he put en route. I'm glad you said that, Sasuke said. Danzo growled and charged at Sasuke. His Sharingan's ready to be used. Unfortunately for him, Sasuke's eyes were stronger and he knew it. Ducking a swing of his kunai, Sasuke rolled away from Danzo and readied to attack. Danzo was filled with rage. His attacks were blind and open. But he was still freakishly strong and fast. Sasuke was purely on the defensive against Danzo. Sasuke finally got the opening he was waiting for when Danzo lunged at him with his eye-coated arm. Sasuke ducked forward and focused all of his lightning chakra into his hand as he drew a wakatashi he had hidden in his sleeve. Chidori blade. Sasuke brought the blade up. Danzo only had an instant to react. But that instant was too short. As he tried to pull his arm away, the blade cut through, taking his arm at the elbow. In doing so, Danzo lost all but one of his Sharingans. Danzo roared in pain as he grabbed the stump of an arm, trying to stop the bleeding. Unfortunately, he left himself wide open and 3 fingers dug into his skull and ripped out his last Sharingan. With another roar of pain, Danzo dropped to the ground, rolling in his anguish. Sasuke took the moment to use ninja wire and chakra suppressing seals to bind Danzo. With a quick few hand signs, Sasuke placed a burning hand on Danzo's stub of an arm and cauterized the wound. Time to go in, Danzo, Sasuke said as he opened a scroll and focused his chakra, making them both vanish in a burst of smoke. Kumogakur. Naruto stood before the Raikage, having finished giving his report. Rubbed his chin for a moment before he nodded. And what is your plan for those two? Asked. I want to help them. Free them from Danzo, Naruto said. Let me speak with them, said. Mabui nodded and forced the two to kneel before the imposing form of the muscular cage. What is it you want? Asked. I want freedom, to pick my battle, to be able to fight when I wanted, not because someone's forcing me to do so, Kidomaru said. And you, little girl? Asked. I just want to stop fighting, I'm tired of it, Tayuya said. If I were to let you leave this place, what would you do? Asked. I would leave, I would find some place to call my own, Tayuya said. I would rather stay, perhaps pledge myself to your forces, Kidomaru replied. Rubbed his chin for a moment. Raikage-sama, Yugito is in trouble. A man came into the office. Naruto looked to see he was heavily wounded and nearly dead. I'll go, Naruto said as he threw his helm on. Go, I'll get B and some other to send help, said, and Naruto was gone in a blur of gray. Yugito knelt, bleeding badly. She was done for. She had no chance at stopping these two. Hell, the masked one hadn't even attacked yet. The silver-haired one was beating her by himself. Yugito weakly stood, her body was heavy and weak. Naruto, Yugito thought as her mind slowly went to the blonde-haired man. Time to go, kitty cat, the silver-haired man said as he shot towards Yugito. Hidan. The masked man screamed, trying to get the man's attention. Before Hidan could react, he found his head off his shoulders, and before Yugito stood a golden-armored man. Red eyes locked on them and a naginata in his hand. You hurt my Yugito-chan, the man's voice was thunderous and filled with rage. You're Yugito? The head of Hidan asked. How can you still talk? Yugito asked in shock. Easy Jashin made me immortal, Hidan laughed. The golden man simply picked up his head while his eyes stayed locked on the masked man. With a toss, Hidan's head ended up in Yugito's arms. Take his head away. He's no threat, Naruto said as he glared at the masked man. I can't leave you alone, Naruto-kun, Yugito said. I'll be fine, Naruto replied as he spun his weapon and glared at the masked man. Oi Kakazu, don't let this bitch go, Hidan shouted. Shut up, Kakazu said as he took off at Yugito. His eyes widened when Naruto literally vanished before his eyes. Your opponent is me, Naruto growled as Shinikiba tore through Kakazu's shoulder. Kakazu flipped back a few times as the wound on his shoulder pulled shut. I know you, Samui had me read about history, how you are alive is beyond me, Naruto said. All alive because I'm not sharing secrets with you, Kakazu growled. Need some help? A voice called out. Naruto shot back as a ball of fire and a stream of water shot at him. I should have known my hunters would show up, Naruto said as Itachi and Kisame appeared behind Kakazu. Where's Hidan? Itachi asked. Two took his head away with her, Kakazu replied. Great. 3-on-1, Naruto said as he knelt ready for what came next. Kaden. Zukoku, Kakazu spoke as fire erupted from his mouth. Kato. Gokaku no Jutsu, Itachi joined in letting loose a massive fireball. Both watched as a figure appeared where Naruto was and took the hit. All three of the Akatsuki members wanted to face-palm Naruto had pulled one over on them by using Hidan's headless body as a shield. Itachi Uchiha, Naruto spoke. Going to kill me for my brother? Itachi asked as Naruto appeared in front of him. The red eyes return, Naruto said before his Shinikiba clashed with the Samahata. Itachi froze his body complete unmoving. What the does that mean? Kisame asked right before a foot met his face and threw him away. Yo! Killer Bee rocking his killer melody. Killer Bee shouted as he landed next to Naruto. Well, this will be fun. Kisame grinned as he and Kisame quickly started to fight. Naruto looked seeing Itachi was still frozen and Kakazu looked pissed. I'll crush you and bring you back to leader, Kakazu said as he tossed off his cloak and ready to fight. Not if I take your head. After all that money on your head could set me up for years, Naruto grinned as he spun his weapon once more. Doden. Domu. Kakazu's arm turned dark as he ran at Naruto. Aim. Now. Naruto narrowly dodged Kakazu's fist and lashed out his spear tore through Kakazu's chest. Arg. Kakazu jumped back as he felt a heart get cut in two. That was my lightning heart. Naruto took the brief pause and attacked. The still darkened arm of Kakazu rose up to block the cut. As the blade started to cut through, Kakazu quickly parried the swing. You don't seem as tough as you let yourself on to be, Naruto said as he slid to a stop. In the words of my former teammate, I'll kill you, Kakazu shouted as he charged forward. Naruto Uzumaki, Itachi's voice spoke. Straight from the Godami Hokage Tsunade Senju, Naruto said as he flipped back. Itachi paused again, but before he could speak. The truth is out in Konoha, it won't be long before this leader finds out, Naruto added. Then it is done, Itachi asked watching Naruto dodge another swing from Kakazu. The council, the civilians, the Hokage, the shinobi, even Sasuke, Naruto said as he rolled away and tossed a scroll to Itachi. Itachi took the scroll and opened it to read the contents. Itachi, are you going to help? Kakazu asked. Yes. Itachi burned the scroll. My apologize, Kakazu. Itachi shot forward a kunai in his hand. Naruto's red eyes widened as he narrowly dodged Itachi's swing. Amaterasu, Itachi spoke. His body quickly turned and the black flames ignited on their target. Kakazu's back. The three remaining masks all burst and were destroyed. No. Kakazu screamed as he was brought down to one heart. Bye. Naruto spoke as his Shinikiba stabbed into his chest and through his final heart. Kakazu froze, his body slowly went limp as he cursed Itachi's name. Good to see you're back, Naruto said as he looked at Itachi. Itachi simply nodded and turned his eyes towards Kisame, who just punted his own sword away from himself, cursing heavily. Hey Itachi. Kisame's voice died on his lips seeing Kakazu's body was slowly burning. Kisame, it's time, Itachi spoke. So it would seem, Kisame said as he pulled out a scroll and tossed it to Itachi before he pulled one out himself. With two bursts of smoke, the two men were now clad in white versions of their cloaks. Naruto marveled at the cloaks. Snow white with red clouds that had golden borders on them. Kisame now held a very familiar sword in his hands as well. Naruto blinked a few times to ensure it was what he saw. And it was. Kisame now held the Kubikiribocho on his shoulder. You're with Konoha? Naruto asked in shock. In a sense, Kisame replied with a grin. You've got to be shitting me, Naruto said as he took of his helm. Killer Bee had the same dumbfounded look as he hoisted the Samahata up into his arms. What's next? You going to say Sasori is still with Suna? Naruto asked. No, he is currently hunting the tree tails, Itachi said. Karen will kick his, Naruto said with a smile. So are we done? Are we going to have more fun? Killer Bee asked. We're done, and I'm going home, Kisame said as he started to walk away. As am I have a feeling I have a very long talk with a certain brother of mine awaiting me, Itachi said as he walked away as well. Let's go find Yugito-chan, Naruto said as they left. Naruto jumped out of the cave they had been in to see Yugito resting against a tree. She was still bleeding but it had lessened. Naruto quickly moved to her side, his hand gently touched her shoulder. How are you doing, Yugito-chan? Naruto asked. I've been better, I'll survive, Yugito said as she tried to stand. If I had my body I'd cut you up, Hidan said with a growl. Too bad your body is a smoldering corpse, Naruto said. What happened to my body? Hidan shouted. Your body got a good roast, now it looks like toast, be wrapped. Please be stop it, Yugito said weakly as Naruto helped her stand. Fine, for now I'll cut it out, B said with a disappointed huff. Come on, let's go home, Naruto said as the 3+1 head left for home. Somewhere near Kurigakure, a young red-haired girl slammed into a wall. She quickly rolled and dodged a puppet set on impaling her with its razor-sharp blades. She was exhausted, her fight had been going on forever it felt like. She had managed to destroy what she thought was Sasori. But in fact it had been a puppet that he rode in. The real puppet master stood a good way away from her with a puppet that she knew to be the missing third cage. Just give in, I hate to keep people waiting, Sasori spoke in his ever monotone. Karen just raised her middle finger to him then dropped to her kneel. She was done for. Karen hit the ground unable to move anymore. Time to go, Sasori's puppet moved to pick her up. Yoden. Yokai no jutsu. A voice echoed out. No. Sasori roared as his prized puppet was coated in lava and reduced to nothing. You think I'll just let you take Karen? Mei said as she panted lightly. She had ran as fast as she could to get to Karen. You're wasting my time, Sasori said as he unleashed his ultimate power. Hundreds of puppets appeared before Mei. Karen, are you okay? Mei asked, not taking her eyes off the puppet master. Just playing possum Mizukage-sama, Karen said as flipped to her feet. Well, time to show off, Mei said. Gotcha, Karen said as her skin took on a green hue and her eyes turned into a deep shade of crimson and finally a single tall appeared behind her. So you've got some control? Sasori asked. His eyes shot open when he felt a handful of puppets suddenly explode. His eyes slowly moved behind him to see several Kiri shinobi. Sasori growled before his puppets started to move. The Kiri shinobi were certainly numerous. Sasori was losing puppet after puppet. He noticed the main reasons were a man with an eye patch, a blue-haired boy, and of course the Mizukage. His eyes started to dart around as he looked for Karen. The girl had vanished when he looked over his shoulder. That was when he noticed the water was disturbed. Karen had gone under the water. Thanks to Isobu she could breathe and swim much faster in water. You're running low, Mei said as another wave of lava wiped out a group of puppets. Sasori changed his focus. He wanted that bitch dead. All of his puppets turned and charged at Mei. I might fail my mission but I will kill you, Sasori said as the puppets got closer and closer. Suryuden no Jutsu. Sasori spun to see a massive dragon made of water charging towards him. He tried to jump away but failed. The dragon caught his legs and slammed him into the wall and through it. The sudden high caused his puppets to fall, their strings cut. Yoden. Yokai no Jutsu. Mei spewed lava forth and removed the last group of puppets. The only one left now was Sasori, who Karen was already going after. Get back here, Karen roared as she landed right in front of Sasori as he pieced himself back together. Said puppet master simply glared at Karen. He was low on chakra, put of puppets, and in the middle of enemy territory. Why? He growled. Why didn't my poisons work on you? My bloodline allows me to heal myself from cuts, burns, and apparently poisons, Karen said. So that's why you bit yourself, Sasori said. Yes, now it's time you die, Karen said as a large tail smashed into him, crushing him into the ground. Strike after strike, she smashed the puppet's body. She stopped once his body was in pieces. But she could still sense chakra from him. Ah, so that's what you are, Karen said as she picked up a black cylinder with veins coming out of it. With a low growl, she crushed the heart and felt the last bit of chakra vanish. Karen, a voice called out. I'm fine, Mizukage-sama, Karen replied.